fuck, 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 fucking fuck, fuck, fucking bugger, 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 buggity, 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 fuck, fuck, arse,
Yes.
balls, balls, fucking
You see,
shit,
not a
shit,
hesitation.
fucking willy, willy, shit and fuck and tits.
The Invisible Man is directed by Leigh Whannell and stars Elisabeth Moss. And wow. I went into The Invisible Man with very low expectations. If you saw my reaction video right after I watched it, you know that I absolutely loved it. I mean, I need to go in with low expectations more often because this film blew me away. I'll try to keep this like as spoiler-free as I can because if you've seen the trailer, like me, you thought I just watched the whole movie. If you haven't seen the trailer, then obviously you don't know really anything about it, except for the fact that there is an invisible man. I don't want to spoil any of what's in the trailer, because I thought, okay, well, that's basically the plot of the movie. But for those of you who have seen the trailer, there are even more twists. And to be honest, even if there wasn't the twists, it's not so much about the surprises, really, in terms of plot. It's really about the experience of watching it. It is about the intensity, the suspense, the moments of actually being in those scenes. And, man, it's so well done. So just as a very, very basic plot, The Invisible Man is about a woman who is in kind of an abusive relationship, and she gets out, and just as she escapes, her husband dies somehow, and it seems as though somehow he's come back, probably in ghost form, and she doesn't know what to do with that because she feels like he is kind of attached to her. So The Invisible Man has two things going for it in terms of why being in the scene is so important, being like attached to what's going on, not so much the plot itself, but really that suspense. It's got the actual suspense and jump scares, which there are a good amount of them, and they're really well done. They're not just like, you know, oh, you turn around, nothing's there. You turn around, oh my God, something's there. Because the point is that there is nothing there the entire time. Because he's invisible. He's like a ghost. So there's a lot of times where, you know, they'll pan to something and nothing's there. And the first time I saw that, I was like, well, why'd they do that? That was weird. But they keep doing it throughout the movie because you don't know, is he there? Or is he not? You know? It feels like maybe he's watching her after a while. And the direction is so good. And that's what makes the jump scares and just the scenes themselves scary, is that they'll show just a shot of the wall, and you know he may be there. He may not, but he might be there. And that's just what's so scary about it, is they never show. Also, the sound design was incredible. I mean, it had so many good moments that were very scary just because of the sound. And not only because it was loud, but because the sound itself that they created is very, I mean, it worked with whatever the scare was, but it was also just very unnerving. And the other thing it has going for it is frustration. This movie is incredibly frustrating in a very good way, because as a ghost, Elisabeth Moss is trying to convince people that he is following her and doing some things to her that she can't control, but other people think that she's doing them. And it's worse and worse. It escalates to the point where, you know, she's getting in trouble for things. She's trying to convince people it's not me, and no matter what she does, she can't convince people that there's like this ghost following her doing some of these things. And it is incredibly frustrating. And that's what keeps you in this movie, because you're just like, I just want to get to the moment where the people understand that it's not her. Does that moment ever come? You'll have to find out. And that frustration, honestly, may be the scariest part of this movie. Is that what happens in real life is kind of the same thing. You know, something happens to these a person that is beyond their control, no one believes them. And, specifically what has been going on with this Me Too movement is that these abusive relationships and these asinine requests by men have been happening forever, but no one believes the woman. And I think that's what was tackled a lot in this, and that's why it was so actually scary, is because no matter what she tried to do and say, it always backfired and was never believed. I mean, it was actually really sad a lot of times too. I mean, really sad. A lot of things were taken away from her. And that was another small thing that I picked up on too, is that the extent of living with somebody who has mental health issues, and the extent of how far is too far if, they're doing something that's harming others or themselves. People don't want to be a burden on other people. But, when you get to that point where they're not saying anymore, no, it's fine, I'm going to be here for you. And they say, I'm going to leave because this is too much, or, you're hurting other people now. It's sad, and because that's like, well, does that mean that there's a limit to, how, it's weird. When it comes to, so that was another really kind of sad thing that I picked up on, was that, the friend that she has is, it's that struggle with having mental health problems and trying not to be a burden, but also, there's only so much somebody can take themselves, and it's just that weird struggle. And so that's something that I thought was very good to talk about, as well. But Elisabeth Moss was the best I've ever seen her. I mean, I'd only seen her in a couple of things. I've seen her in a couple episodes of Mad Men, because I'm starting to watch that. And I've seen her in Us, but she was a smaller player, but she was still very creepy. But in this, she really kills it. I mean, she had to have such a tough time, because she's crying half the time. She's, going, I don't want to say insane, because she knows what she's talking about, but she seems like she's going insane, I mean, and she kind of is. I mean, I would be after all of this. And she gives probably the best performance I've seen, because, I mean, there are just surprises all the way up until the end with her. The funny thing is that this movie was made for $7 million, which, if you don't know a whole lot about like movie budgets, $7 million is considered low budget somehow. And to make a low budget movie, actually, I think it's just above low budget, now that I think about it. I can't remember. But to make a low budget movie with Elisabeth Moss in it and still have it be this good, that really, really shows that it's not about the special effects or, the big visuals. I mean, it is. Obviously, it's about, it's a movie. That's, movies are about visuals. But it comes down to story and timing and how you unravel information and the acting. So you can make a very low budget or no budget movie that's very good. So go make one if you want. Take your phone and go make one. If the visuals aren't that great, no one's going to care if the story's good and the acting is good. I'm serious. And the sound. The sound needs to be good, unless it's a silent film. But back to the movie. Yeah, I mean, those are the things that I can really talk about without spoiling so much. But I will say that, I mean, there are so many twists in this movie. Specifically one that I would never, ever have been prepared for. And it's one of those things that it's surprising, because it's one of those things that in movies, it happens all the time in movies. The difference here is that it was built up to an unexpected moment. This thing can happen so many times in other movies, and you'd be like, okay, yeah, that happens. But in this one, it's just the unexpected part of it. And man, I mean, I went to see it with 3 of my friends, and wow, we all just sat there. It's one of those moments where you're just like, the entire, for like 4 minutes, You just didn't, like, I have rarely been, like, in the theater where I was into a movie so much I forgot I was in the theater, even for like a second. That happened with this one. It was insane. It's such a good moment, but I'm not going to hype it up so much because then you're going to be looking for it. Just go in knowing it could be any time during the movie because the entire movie is really great. I want to see more of what Leigh's done. He's done Upgrade, which I heard was very good as well, and so I want to see more of what he's done just because, I mean, if you can make a movie like this with a low budget, that's a thriller, and you know, make it actually scarier than some things I have seen, you've done a great job, you know. If I had to have one criticism, I don't. For me, the third act was a little weak compared to. I mean, in general, it was still a wonderful third act, but it compared to the first two that were very slowly building things up. The third act, I was with it until a certain thing happened. I was with it, and then I was like, okay, this is where it's gonna really take off. And then it just kind of kept going and kept going and kept going. And I don't know, for me, it focused on some things rather than what I felt it should have focused on. There were some twists that I was like, okay, yeah, I could. And after thinking about it for some time, it definitely was like a Parasite thing where it was more the unexpected rather than like, okay, that was a satisfying ending. It was more the unexpected ending that you're like, that does make sense though. And, you know, that's real life. But for me, I did get a little bit of, I wasn't as satisfied with some closures as I could have been, except for the end. The very end is very satisfying. Some parts before that I was like, I was waiting the whole time and I didn't get that. I mean, again, for a third act, it was still incredible. Just comparatively to the first two acts, which, funny enough, where I thought even better, which sometimes, you know, the third act is the most exciting. I thought the first two acts were incredible. Yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say about it without giving too much away. But The Invisible Man is an incredible movie. Go see it. That's why I think horror movies are getting really good nowadays, is because they are attaching the horror elements to real life scary things or just real life issues. I mean, you think about it, Joker is about mental health. Get Out is about racism. Us is about yourself. Hereditary is about mental health. Midsommar is about cults. That's all I know from, because I haven't seen it yet. But all of these movies are getting so good because they actually have good stories and good things that we can attach to, because we're like, yeah, that actually happens and that's real. And it's like, I don't want to say metaphors, but they're ingraining them into the plots of the film. So it's not just jump scares. It's great to have a movie every so often. It's just a jump scare. It's just a fun, you know, monster of the week. That's great. But a lot of the scary parts come from what actually scares us in real life, is racism and, you know, things that are beyond our control and ourselves. So go see The Invisible Man. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 4. It's so good. Just go see it. I know it came out at the end of February, which is like January to February is like, oh, no good movies come out. Wrong. A lot of good movies come out. They're just never talked about. So please go see it. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys next time.